And what we see here is a judgment on the demonic counterfeit false god, the king of the demons in that day, Baal. And Baal was known for two things. He was called the storm god. He was the god of the rain. And so when it didn't rain for 3.5 years, it was God's way of saying, you and I are going to have a fight, and I'm going to prove to everybody you're not the strong one. It's not going to rain until I say it's going to rain. Not only was he the god of rain, number two, he was the god of prosperity. Because if it rained, the crops grew. And if it rained, the livestock could feast. And if it rained, the economy flourished. Here, what we see as well is that in the ancient world, Baal was worshiped, for those of you who were here for the previous sermon, with what animal? A bull. A bull. And for them, a bull denoted fertility and prosperity and strength. And so the ancient symbol of Baal worship was the bull. That's why in 1 Kings 18, the battle between God and Baal included the sacrifice of 2 bulls, because that was the icon and image and representation and embodiment of Baal worship. And so when Baal couldn't send fire, but God did, it showed that God is much greater than Baal. The problem with the Baals is reticent throughout Scripture. Various regions will have their location and then Baal. And so Baal is consistent throughout the Old Testament as the archenemy of the God of the Bible. Literally, it is Satan working on the earth. And so different regions would actually, when you read the Bible, you're like, where are these different Baals? This Baal and that Baal? They would just take their regional name and put it, so it'd be like Phoenix Baal, Los Angeles Baal, Portland Baal, Seattle Baal. You're like, I see that. Okay, so, and so it's just regions devoting themselves to Baal. Now, if you remember back in the story of the Bible, do you remember the days of Moses that the people of God were supposed to worship him, but instead they created an idol, an image to worship instead? Do you remember what it was? It was a bull, it was a calf. You know what a calf is? A young bull. They literally created a Baal bull to worship, and what color was it? Gold. Because Baal is worshiped when you want to have prosperity and provision. In 1987, the stock market crashed. In 1989, this appeared near the New York Stock Exchange. That's a Baal. It's a bull. What does a bull represent? A bull market. It's an idol to Baal. And what color is it? Gold. I'm telling you that even though we have new days, we're dealing with old demons. And when we read the story, we're like, it's so crazy. They had a big bull. We got one too. 11 feet high, 16 feet long, 7,100 pounds. Dedicated to the bull market provision. It's Baal worship. And the theme of of Elijah is this, that we don't just look at the story, we look through the story. Because the Bible doesn't just tell us what happened in the past, but what always happens, including the present. And so when we look through the story, we're asking, as we see the same themes, as we see the same images, as we see the same activities in different ages and cultures, is it possible that we're dealing with the same demons? Is the unseen realm doing the same thing in the seen realm in multiple times? Yes. When the Israelites came down from the mountain, or if you were present in the days of Ahab and Jezebel ruling and reigning in Israel, that's exactly what they had for public art. Howdy, Pastor Mark here. Thanks for viewing the clip. And if you'd like the entire sermon, we've got it ready to go.